Hey everyone, let's talk about Frostblade Fryevia today. After doing Clash, polling for her, playing around with her a little bit because it's funny, when I initially took a look at her, I was under the assumption that she's really bad. But as it turns out, I kind of started to like her lately, especially earlier today when I EX plus freed my Fryevia and ran through Clash of Wills again with the Frost team. There are a few things that I noticed, and it's actually good that I waited until today for the review, because otherwise the verdict would have been different, and it's kind of interesting. So today I'm hoping that I can make sure that you guys get the full picture of why Fryevia might be a little bit overlooked when looking at the big picture. So let's get started, and I'll explain what I mean by this once we get to the point where it really gets interesting. So, Fryevia, one of the good units. I'm kind of sad that the base form, which I showed here, this is her attacking stance when you use abilities. Why could this not be her idle animation? This looks so much better as an idle animation than what she actually has in the game. Oh well, I guess they didn't want the base form and Brave Shift idle form to look too similar. But yeah, I like this preparation or attacking stance a lot more than the idle animation she actually has in the game. But anyway, her sprite in this case, even for the idle animation or for this attacking animation, is really cool. But I do prefer the Brave Shift sprite in general. Nonetheless, base form, she's a mage and ice amplification unit. And in Brave Shift, she's a physical attacker, LB finisher. She technically is also an LB finisher in the base form, but it's not that good, even when mage variance applies. So in both forms, she has one amping ability, but the real good thing is in the base form with the Aurora Key Frost Blossom, 135% ice imperil, 45% ice amp for the entire party, and a spammable, and this is the huge kicker here, it's a spammable 25% ice physical magical field for your party side only. Absolutely crazy, it's really good, and this being spammable sets a dangerous precedent, because every other unit that comes out now is going to be get compared to that. So it's really good, but again, sets a dangerous precedent here. And I'm not memeing. The Brave Shift has a nerfed, quote unquote, I don't want to call it a nerf, but a dumbed down version of this with the On Guard. It's a 400 stat buff for herself though, cures attack magic break. Oh wait, I picked the wrong one. She has, I swear I picked the wrong one. She has light amps for herself. That was actually what I wanted to pick here. I hope I have it on the next slide. No, I don't. I picked the wrong one. Oh well. She does have light amps. She also has a 135% light imperil on her kit. For some reason I overlooked this. I'm sorry. But yeah. The wiki isn't... as you can see, all the icons on the wiki are the same. But anyway, enough rambling. Her grant is in base form. Pretty good. It's a 50% light and ice amp for herself. 300 LB boost for 5 turns, which is really good. I like this. And it's also a storing mechanic, which stores instantly to form. I like that as well. And I feel like when mage variance comes around, that huge storing stuff will actually make her somewhat viable in today's meta. What's in it for us 2 or 3 months from now when we get that mage variance? I don't think she'll be relevant ever. But if we had mage variance right now, she'd be really good with that. Even at her low modifiers, just because she can get up to, I believe, 15k magic. And that's pretty high. It's higher than Dank Rain, for example. She also has Riposte. I only included what happens if you modify this up. So riposte, preparation, and some of her brave shift attacks, Coupe for example, they have a plus version. So riposte plus, once you use either riposte, en garde, etc., it is a 300% stat buff, it scales with morale, reduces damage taken, and it's also another magic storing ability. Just as is preparation, which is also an LB filler for the party, except for Fryevia herself, so that's pretty cool. Brave Shift, she has that key pressure, which is a perfect dispel from all enemies, super good. And it is an 85% attack magic break and an 88% defense and spirit break, while also being a 135% ice and light imperil. Now what's missing here on this, and I left it out on purpose, is that she has a sword imperil 30%, it is spammable, it's on flick. She also has this on her limit bursts, so that's fine, you will always have that sword imperil, it's 30%, and finally swords are viable choices again, which I personally like a lot, because for the last probably 10 months we haven't used any swords, because swords, the only sword imperils we had were Arden and Noctis that were really good to begin with, and those haven't been meta for over a year now, so swords being finally somewhat relevant again is cool. It just increases the diversity in weapons we can use, because before it was just guns, then it became great swords, now spears are relevant again, swords are relevant again, and yeah, next week and next month it might be katanas. No spoilers yet. So yeah, another thing I'd like to mention is her EX buffs, or not buffs, but passives. At EX2 she gains 300 static attack and magic and full LB gauge, and at EX plus 3, which I find a novelty amongst global units, she gains 6x cap. She has 5x cap naturally from gearing or from her other passives, but at EX plus 3 she gains the full 6x cap, which makes her rather slot efficient to gear, because she doesn't need any of the clash items. You could technically just use the summoners version, you could use the static attack version or the killer version. That's really good, and I do hope that the upcoming global exclusive units or clash units will follow suit and be 6x cap innately as well when at EX plus 3. It's a nice bonus. Obviously, EX plus 3 is rather expensive, but I like this. I like the concept of it to be super slot efficient. However, I do wish that Fryevia would be a little bit more of a supporter, because as you can see, or as you might have noticed, her supporting skills are still lacking. Yeah, she has 88% breaks, she's filling LB, she has mitigation, but what she's really missing, and I find that a huge oversight, is killer buffs. While true, she would be kind of just another Roberta with a different flavor if she had killer buffs, but who would she hurt if she had 150% party human Reaper killers? Yes, she would kind of share slots or unit slots with Ling, but Ling does other things. Ling is an LB filler, a massive LB filler. Ling has Mirage, she can heal, she has 2 more killer types at 150%. Ling does so many things, so they wouldn't really share slots. You could still use Ling, you could still use Fryevia independently of each other, both doing different things. And Fryevia missing killers is the greatest weakness of her, in my opinion, because if she had killer buffs in her kit, she'd be an amazing unit. And when comparing Fryevia to JP units, all JP units pale in comparison. But Gumi set the bar so high with prior units that it's really hard to make something that is even better, because just take a look at Roberta or Esther. Those two set such a high bar that it's impossible, almost impossible, without making a blanket overpowered unit to either be on par or even better, because what's next? Like, how can you ever top a unit such as Roberta? It's impossible without breaking the game in terms of balance. How can you top a unit that does the same thing as Esther without breaking the game? You basically can't. And that's going to be a design issue, and I'm very curious to see how the designers and the unit designers and developers are going to tackle that, because everything that comes after Roberta can only fail. I mean, Fryevia got shafted so much and got so much hate in the community because she has no 90% breaks, which don't matter at all in Clash of Worlds because of the high passives. Dark Visions, on the other hand, different story, but Dark Visions is a dumb game mode anyway with the 0% passive, but I'll get to that later. And yeah, Roberta and Esther set a very dangerous precedent for the game. I know, this is not even a meme, because they are just too good. And that's a problem. It's just the same thing as with... I was about to make a very good comparison here, but yeah, Roberta is really dangerous for the health of the game because no unit will ever be as good as her. That's what I feel like. She deserved a 10 out of 10 rating. She probably would have been a legit 11 out of 10, just as how good she is. She deals a lot of damage. She's super high up there. She's comparable in damage in Clash. She did amazing damage last week, or the last 2 weeks in Dark Visions. Yeah, she was boosted by stats, but still. None of this applies to Fryevia, and that is why people are understandably upset about her kit, because comparing Fryevia to the good units or the other units that we've gotten recently, she just isn't that good. And all Gumi can do is they walk straight up below that high bar they set themselves. There's no saving grace anymore without nerfing Esther or Roberta. And that's going to be an issue for every unit going forward. Unless they don't care about power creep anymore and just accelerate things even further. Which I wouldn't be surprised, but it's going to be an issue. So always keep that in mind. Fryevia is still a decent unit, but she's lacking those killers. That's the point I was making here. Alright, moving on to the LBs. Base form limit burst. I don't know. It's a 195x in base form. It's a 250x with morale scaling in mind in Brave Shift. Both have a sword in peril. No, both do not have a sword in peril. Base form has a sword in peril, ice resistance by 1/3, ice in peril by 135, and 80% mitigation for self, general mitigation. Brave Shift is 50% accuracy down, so to speak, a discount version of Sky's LB, if you want to say so, 250 LB. It's literally the same, just that she has 600 morale fill, so 6%. I don't know what Gumi thought here, because Sky is at this point, I believe, 6 months old, at least 6 months old, and she has 705 X LB. Why can't Fryevia have this? Who thought that a 250 LB would be even close in comparison to a 705 X LB from Sky? Yes, you have to stack Sky. Fair argument. And yes, Sky has super low attack. Absolutely fair argument. But that huge difference, especially when considering that Sky double dips on Ty versus STMR because she has 2 hits, Fryevia has none of that. And it's super hard to incorporate Ty versus STMR on Fryevia because she can only use it in Brave Shift, because in base form she cannot use Ty versus STMR. So you need that extra slot on her, which is kind of eh. But still, 250x in Clash, not going to cut it. And a 160 outside of Clash, that wouldn't have been even good 1 year ago, let alone 2 years ago when Neo Vision units were introduced to the game. Granted, her base attack is really high, she gets crazy numbers. At EX plus 3 with full gearing, she reaches 11,000 attack power. That's really, really high. But that doesn't offset the bad modifiers on her limit burst. Let's move on to the Trustmaster, Super Trustmaster, and Vision card. The Trustmaster is pretty much a carbon copy of Roberta's Trustmaster. It's allow use of sword, it's 50% attack magic, but Fryevia's TMR provides 50% LB damage. What's more, the Super Trustmaster is also pretty much a carbon copy from Roberta with different things. So she too has 220 attack and magic, which seems to be the go-to value these days for two-handed weapons. Take Esther's STMR for example, that's 220 as well attack. Fryevia though has 50 LB damage. She trades the 75 LB damage that Esther's STMR has for 50% Demon and Reaper Killer, which is very nice. I like it a lot. It's a very good, very good STMR to have. And Fryevia variants, that includes the older ones, the 7-star ones, they gain 800 static attack and magic alike when wearing this. Superb STMR, absolutely nothing wrong with it. I love it. I got 4 copies of it and it's good. Will I ever use 4 copies? Probably nah. I would say 2 is enough for most cases, but I got 4 just in case. The Vision card. It's a 110 attack and magic Vision card, so super good for actual hybrid units. 60 attack and magic from 4 and 7 passives, and 250 static attack, magic, defense, and spirit for FFBE units only. The card itself, it's okay. It's nothing too special. It's a good all-around card when you don't need killers, but do want to have that little bit of oomph in stats and static attack or static stats, as well as percentage stats, especially attack and magic. So Trustmaster, Super Trustmaster, yay, extremely good, superb, amazing Vision card. It's good. It will be power crept though, very hard by Knights of Grandchild card, which is very soon. Let's talk about the damage calculations or the damage assumptions, because this is the part I was talking about earlier, where things will get very interesting. So as always, pause the video if you want to check the parameters. We are ignoring that she has 135 imperils. We are also ignoring that she has an amplification field that is spammable. No fields are ever used in these assumptions. Keep that in mind. So this is the build for her base form. I built her towards Aquatic Demon. Yes, so she has 250 Aquatic, 300 Demon, 300 LB, very slot efficient. And this is the physical build. Now, actually, I would like to use the Knights of Grandchild card, but that's not on the global server yet. So this is the build for Aquatic Demon, 200 Aquatic, 300 Demon, 300 LB. I'm not quite sure whether this is actual best in slot build. It's probably not, but the builder hasn't been updated with her, so I calculated her with these values in mind. There may be some changes coming up, but for now, this is what we're doing it with. So let's check the results for Dark Vision's Vision World. Those are rather unimpressive and shouldn't be surprising one bit. Aurora, the Fryevia, the Aurora version, so the Swordmaster, the Braveshift version of hers, is 53.87% of Esther's damage, which isn't good, basically saying Esther does double the damage in Dark Visions or Vision World. It's even worse for the base form version, the Frostblade version of hers, who is just 46.27% of Dark Reign's damage. Even less when building Angela comparably strong to Dark Reign, where she will be just about 40% as strong as that Angela version, which is rather underwhelming, as you can imagine. So for Dark Visions or Vision World, Fry is just a mediocre unit with no real saving grace. The ice field can be a boon, but I find it hard to slot her in, especially when comparing her to units such as Celeste, who is a tank, but also has good killers, or Yoshikiri, who has LB buffs, multiple killer races, 45% amps, and also an LB buff for the entire party. So it's a little bit hard to to give her a spot. I just had the correct wording for this, but it's really hard to argue or to warrant a slot for her when there are other options available that do comparably well. I mean, neither Yoshikiri nor Celeste deal good damage, so that might be what tips the scales in favor of Fryevia. But then again, you're missing out on killers. And I wouldn't like missing out on killers just for that ice field, honestly. But here comes the tricky part. While the Dark Vision's Vision World stats don't seem really good, the picture is vastly different when you look at Clash of Worlds. And I was surprised to see Fryevia above Lara Croft. Aurora Swordmaster, the brave shifted Fryevia to be above Lara Croft. Now, always keep in mind, no fields in here, just 130 breaks, and this is also including that Fryevia gets a 90% break, because the top one, the one at the top, assumes 90% breaks, which in Clash of Worlds implies that you are bringing Lara Croft anyway. However, I also included 88% breaks on Fryevia, and she still performs just slightly better than Lara Croft. So at EX plus 3, Fryevia is actually pretty good. I mean, truth be told, she is still only 73.66% damage of Sky's damage, or 61.16% damage, a percent of Roberta's damage in her base form. But I was surprised, honestly, to see her above Lara Croft, because one of the most complaints I see in my Clash of Worlds videos is, what if I don't have Lara Croft? Please make a video without Lara Croft. And the answer for that is actually Fryevia. And the reason for that is the bosses in Clash of Worlds usually have 100% passive defense and spirit, meaning your 90% break isn't as effective as it could be. Take for example Dark Vision's bosses have 0% passive defense and spirit, meaning that 90% break really makes a huge difference. But when your average Clash of Worlds boss has 100% passive defense, that means your 90% break, while still being somewhat of an increase, is not that much of an increase anymore. Like, take the decrease in damage from Fryevia, right? Let me just see how much this is. I'm just calculating this on the fly. Let me just type this in. So the 88% break Fryevia is 98.21% damage. So for the 2 percentage points lost in breaks, she only lost 1.8% of her damage. And that is pretty negligible. Especially when you consider that she deals a little bit more damage than Lara Croft, right? So what you're trading here is basically some breaks, but for better team support. Because truth be told, Lara Croft does absolutely nothing for the team other than 90% break. Fryevia, on the other hand, she does that 45% amp for the whole party, she does that field effect for the party, and I would say that field effect is what tips the scales eventually in favor of Fryevia when comparing her to Lara Croft. So that is why going forward I might always include Fryevia instead of Lara Croft when a boss is weak to ice, because in that case Fry is better, even if it's just very, very slightly. But then again, for just quick clears, it's Lara Croft because, well, she does good damage, regardless. But yeah, this was the result I was very surprised of, because I didn't expect Fryevia to perform this well. So for Clash, Fry is a good unit to use, especially in ice comms, where she does a lot of things. Well, sadly no killers, but yeah. In terms of damage, she falls short against staples such as Esther and most importantly Sky. And Sky will soon skyrocket yet again in damage when she can use the Knights of Grandchild card. It's just flat out 500 static attack. She gains a lot of LP damage. She frees up so many ability slots and equipment slots that Sky is going to be even stronger in Clash of Worlds. And you can see in the top chart I included Stormseeker Esther with the Knights of Grandchild card. I will add Sky with Knights of Grandchild card soon too, and you will see on my damage spreadsheet how that affects the scoring, because Sky will just outshine Esther by quite a lot. But anyway, point I'm making, Fryevia is stronger than even I believed, and many other people still believe, so don't write her off as just some bad unit. She is certainly not. Is she as good as Esther or Sky? No, but she doesn't need to be, and I feel like they did actually rather well for Clash of Worlds. Sadly, not so much in Dark Visions or Vision World. But yeah, I find Dark Visions to be dumb anyway, because that 0% passive defense spirit just ruins the balancing. I hate to bring Lara Croft to Dark Visions, I'll be honest, so I'd be really happy if they introduced a 50 or even 100% passive defense and spirit to Dark Visions as well, just so we can use different units and have more diversity in team compositions. So yeah, the verdict, and it's the first time that I have to split the rating into two ratings, because Fryevia's worth is different for Clash and Dark Visions. So for Clash of Worlds, I'd rate her at 8 out of 10, and for Dark Visions / Vision World, it's a 7 out of 10. And the reason is that the Dark Vision and Vision World damage is overall disappointing, as we've seen. I also gave her a -1 for the no killer stuff. This usually wouldn't be a -1 because she has that slot efficient gain on the good side of things, and I usually wouldn't deduct a point. But here, because she is a support unit, support units have to have killers, or otherwise they will get a point deducted. And this is the case here. So yeah, the good side of things, she does good damage as in a physical role for a supporting unit in Clash, so that's her +1. She has an amazing STMR and TMR with a good vision card, that's her +1. She's very slot efficient. She doesn't even need a 6x cap item, which is very good. And the Sword in Peril is great. It's on demand, 135 Ice and Light in Peril on demand. Very good. So all in all, the verdict is that Fryevia is a very strong unit for ice-based teams and will perform best in Clash of Worlds. However, the missing critical killer buffs is what will make her a potentially short-lived unit, sadly. And with that, I'm closing the review for this week. Thank you all very much for watching, and we'll see each other in the coming days for more Clash of Worlds videos. I still have that fire team that I showed on my stream yesterday. I'm still working on that. I haven't gotten to it yet today. I got held up with different things. I'm also planning to do a cheap run for Clash of Worlds. So there's a lot of stuff coming in the next days. I just need to find the time to do it. But yeah, anyway, thank you all for watching. Have a wonderful rest of the Sunday evening, morning, afternoon, wherever you're coming from. And see you then. Bye bye.